Before we begin, tell me, where in this wide, wild world are you listening from? Drop your city or country in the comments. I love knowing how far these Wild West tales can travel. Under the pale wash of winter sun, the plains lay still, their frozen grasses whispering beneath a light wind that carried the scent of pine and old earth. Luke Mercer rode alone, his shadow long against the frost, the creak of saddle leather the only sound breaking the silence. The world felt empty here, save for the occasional hawk wheeling high above. He preferred it this way, quiet, unclaimed, but the land that gave peace could just as easily take it. That truth came sharp and sudden, carried on the faintest sound that cut through the cold air. A cry, high and thin, like a bird in pain, yet too human to ignore. He drew his horse to a halt, listening. Another cry followed, weaker this time, and his boots hit the ground before thought could catch him. Rifle in hand, he moved toward the sound, boots crunching over frost. Between scrubby mesquite and low cedar, he saw them. Two small girls, no older than 6, pressed together against a boulder, their breath fogging the cold air. A lean wolf stood a few paces off, hackles raised, lips peeled back to show teeth yellow as old ivory. The older girl's arms were thrown around the younger, her small body a shield. Luke felt a twist in his chest, an ache as old as the grief he carried. He didn't shout. A loud voice might scatter them in fear or push the wolf to strike. Instead, he stepped slow, eyes fixed on the animal, raising the rifle in one fluid motion. The wolf's growl deepened. The report of the shot cracked across the stillness, echoing through the trees, and the beast dropped, its last breath steaming in the cold air. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The girl's eyes were wide, dark as midnight rivers, darting between him and the fallen animal. Luke lowered the rifle and crouched, making himself smaller. His voice, when it came, was quiet, the way one speaks to a skittish colt. "You're all right now." Whether they understood the words or not, he let the tone carry what mattered. He pulled his canteen from his belt and held it out. The older girl hesitated, then took it, letting the younger drink first. She drank fast, spilling some down her chin, then passed it back without a word. They were thin, their cheeks hollow, their clothes, deerskin tunics and leggings, smudged with dirt and torn at the knees. Luke shrugged off his coat, wrapping it around them both. The older clutched it tight around her sister, her chin lifting in silent defiance, as if daring him to try taking it back. He felt the faintest pull of a smile at that spirit, but it died quick. The wind was shifting colder. His cabin lay half a mile to the west. He guided them toward it, letting them walk, but keeping close enough they could reach him if they stumbled. The younger girl's small hand found his sleeve, holding on with surprising strength. Each step they took left dark impressions in the frost, as though marking a path he couldn't turn away from now. The cabin's chimney smoked faintly when they reached it, warmth leaking from the gaps around the door. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of coffee grounds and the faint, lingering tang of wood ash. Luke set them near the hearth, where the fire popped and hissed. The girls crouched low, hands out to the heat, their eyes darting around the one-room space, as if mapping its safety. He poured coffee for himself and ladled warm beans into bowls for them. Bread followed, crusty and dry, but softened when dipped in broth. The older girl, he would later learn her name was Tala, ate quickly, not looking up. The younger, Winona, took careful bites, her gaze flitting to his face between each one, like she was studying whether this place would keep her. Outside, snow began to fall, light at first, flakes drifting like ash, settling on the split-rail fence and the empty corral. Luke sat in his chair by the fire, boots stretched toward the heat, and tried not to think of the empty space where his wife once sat. But the sound of 2 small breaths, the whisper of their movements on the buffalo hide rug, made the emptiness seem less like a wound and more like a scar that could be lived with. Morning came gray and still, until the sound of hoofbeats broke it. Luke stepped outside, rifle resting against the doorframe, and saw her. A woman on horseback, her figure wrapped in a faded red blanket, hair braided with stray feathers, eyes sharp even at a distance. She dismounted with fluid grace, calling out in Apache. The girls bolted from the cabin, voices lifting in quick, bright syllables as they ran to her. She dropped to her knees in the snow, arms wrapping both of them in a grip that shook. Luke stood a little apart, the cold stinging his cheeks, watching the reunion. When the woman looked up at him, her eyes held gratitude, but also something heavier, an obligation, perhaps, or a decision already made. She spoke in halting English. "I am Naya. They are mine. You saved them." She paused, as if weighing her next words. "A life saved must be repaid. My way. I come to you." It took Luke a moment to understand, and when he did, his chest tightened. She wasn't offering coin or goods. She was offering herself, her place in his home. He shook his head slowly. "You don't owe me anything." Her gaze didn't waver. "A home is not payment. It is peace." Inside, she moved with quiet certainty, tending a fire, laying a hand briefly on each daughter's hair. She spoke little, but every motion carried the weight of someone used to work and survival. Luke tried to tell himself it was wrong to accept her offer, that she should go where her own people would keep her. But she explained, without drama, that she had no one left who would take her in. Her husband was gone, her kin scattered. Without a man beside her, she was as good as dead in her people's eyes. The girls laughed for the first time since he'd found them, playing with a small carved horse they discovered on a shelf. The sound warmed the walls, turned the cabin into something it hadn't been in years. Luke caught Naya watching them with a small, private smile, and felt something shift inside him. The days folded in on each other, marked by small acts. Naya mended the tear in his shirt without being asked. Tala carried water from the pump when he worked in the yard. Winona curled against his side in the evenings, her head heavy on his arm. Naya hummed a low tune while grinding corn, a sound that made the hours pass softer. At supper one night, their hands brushed as he passed the bread. Neither pulled away. The change didn't go unnoticed. 2 men from town rode up one afternoon, their faces twisted with suspicion. They eyed Naya and the girls like they were varmints in the henhouse, muttering about keeping savages. Luke's jaw hardened, but before he could speak, Naya straightened her shoulders and met their stares without a word. Tala's small hand found hers, gripping tight. When the men left, Luke muttered an apology, but Naya only said, "Peace is not given by others, only taken within." That night, he couldn't sleep. The firelight painted Naya's profile in gold as she whispered in Apache to her daughters, telling them they were safe now. The word clung to him. Safe. He realized he wanted to be the one who kept it true. The next morning, the wolves came again. The growl from the barnyard sent Luke to the door, rifle in hand. Naya was already moving, shepherding the girls inside before grabbing a bough from near the hearth. Tala, eyes fierce, fetched a handful of arrows. The wolves circled, drawn by the scent of food scraps. Luke fired, the report rolling over the snow. One wolf fell, the others hesitating before Naya's sharp cries, and Luke's second shot sent them fleeing. When it was over, they stood in the yard, breath misting in the cold, snow clinging to hair and coats. Luke looked at her, really looked, and saw not just a woman he had sheltered, but someone who had fought beside him to keep this ground theirs. She met his gaze without flinching, something unspoken passing between them. That night, with the girls asleep by the fire, they sat close beneath a shared blanket. Luke's voice was low, steady. "You can stay. Not because you owe me, because I'd be a fool to let you go." Naya's eyes softened, and she laid her hand over his, the warmth of it anchoring him. Outside, the snow fell softer, the world hushed. The cabin no longer felt like 4 walls, it felt like a home. And if you've ever found someone who makes the silence feel safe, who turns the sharp edges of the world into something you can rest against, you'll know why he never let her leave. Peace is rare, love rarer still. And when the two come together in one winter cabin, the wise man holds on with both hands.